He had a unique blend of talent and character to do what he did. Jackie Robinson made a real difference. It made a real difference to the way people thought about race.
When I think of Jackie, I don't think black and white. I just see this wonderful person who carried a huge load, and he had a challenge beyond almost any other major leaguer who has ever played the game.
I wanted to be like Jackie Robinson. He carried my every dream, my every hope, my aspirations. I wanted to be like Jackie.
Jack had a tremendous capacity for love and tenderness, and that grew over the years.
One of the really momentous or great things that happened to me in my life is that this man, who I had so much respect and admiration for, chose me as a friend.
There's not an American in this country free until every one of us are free.
Jackie Robinson was born in Georgia in 1919, the youngest of 5, the grandson of a slave, the son of a sharecropper. His father left the family when Jackie was a baby. Soon after, Jackie's mother moved the family to Pasadena in search of a better life.
He came here to California with no father, and Mally Robinson was a strong person, his mother. And I think he, along with his brothers and his sister, got that from his mom. She was a very strong lady, a very nice lady. She handled that family very well. This is where Jackie lived. Unfortunately, his home that he lived in is no longer here, but this is the area. And we were probably young kids, about 5 or 6 years old when we first met.
From the very beginning, I was a little older and I had to take care of him, take him to school before he was old enough so I could watch him while he played in the sandbox, because my mother worked. He had no one to take care of him but me, so I had to take him to school. At that time, even before he started school, the kids would bring apples or a sandwich for him to play on their team. My mother made him a little rag ball and he carried it with him all the time. And it was just a natural athlete.
This is Pepper Street in Pasadena, California. And right down the street here is where Jackie grew up and hung around with the Pepper Street gang. And they used to just sit on the curb and josh back and forth. But it was the most integrated gang you'd ever want to meet. They had Mexicans and Negro and Caucasian and Japanese in this so-called Pepper Street gang. A bunch of guys that got together, played marbles, and just had a lot of fun. We played a lot of soccer, believe it or not, in those early days at Cleveland Elementary in Pasadena. But I just knew then that he was a pretty good player, and I had no idea that he would turn out to be the way he did turn out to be.
Jackie's athletic aptitude became evident when he enrolled at Pasadena Junior College in 1937, where he excelled in the 4 major sports. A future teammate of Jackie's, a young Duke Snyder, was a student at a nearby junior high school at the time, and Jackie was his idol.
Jackie was playing for Pasadena, and a couple of friends of mine and I went over to see the baseball game. And I didn't know what was going on, but underneath his baseball uniform, he had his track uniform on. He would go over and participate in the long jump in between innings. So we were standing there watching the game, and pretty soon Jackie took his uniform off, and out of a little bag took some track shoes out, took his baseball shoes off, put the track shoes on, and started trotting over towards the football stadium where the track meet was. And I asked him, I said, "Where are you going, Mr. Robinson?" He said, "I've got to go over and participate in the long jump and then come back and finish the ball game. So can we go with you?" And he said, "Sure." So we trotted over with him and didn't say much. He was in a hurry to get over there, and he didn't even loosen up because he'd been playing baseball. He didn't even loosen up. He won the long jump in his first jump, and went back to the baseball game. We trotted back with him. And I was just amazed that, someone was that great of an athlete.
After 2 years at Pasadena, Jackie chose UCLA and became the only man in school history to letter in all 4 major sports. He led the basketball conference in scoring and was quite a halfback.
Watch him leading UCLA to a 16-6 victory over Oregon on October 28, 1939. Touchdown for Jackie Robinson.
He had superb abilities. He had quick reaction. He seemed to have a sixth sense when it came to outmaneuvering an opponent or scoring or getting around an opponent. He was just a terrific, agile person. But his baseball abilities, believe it or not, were not as good as his other abilities, but this is what he became famous for.
But Jackie's time at UCLA was also important in a personal way, for it was here he met the love of his life, his future wife, Rachel, then a nursing student.
I was a freshman and Jack was a senior at UCLA. And all of the African-American students used to hang out in Kirchhoff Hall, which was the student union in those days. And one day, Ray Bartlett brought Jack over to the corner where the students were gathered and introduced him to me.
Jack had seen Rachel, and he wanted to meet her. He had pointed her out to me. I says, well, go meet her. But Jack was a little bashful. And so we were up in Kirchhoff Hall, and I took him over and introduced him to Rachel. Then I told him he was on his own from then on.
By that time, he had lettered in 4 major sports and was quite a campus hero. So I knew who he was. But what impressed me in light of that was that he seemed so down to earth, friendly, confident, not at all arrogant. Also, he was very, very handsome.
Rachel's the one that really caught his eye, and he told me that, boy, I hope someday, and it happened.
A chance meeting in college. Little did they know the impact of their lives together in the years to come. But Jack and Rachel's courtship had to be put on hold, for in early 1942, he was told to put on still another uniform.
Well, he was inducted into the Army and was first sent to Fort Riley, Kansas, where he experienced for the first time segregation in full force. The units were all segregated. The accommodations were not equal for black soldiers and white soldiers. It was during the war, and when the soldiers were preparing to go overseas, actually to put their lives on the line, and they were finding themselves in a war at home. So that was troubling, and Jack, being the kind of person he was, who just bridled at injustice and couldn't tolerate it for very long, and he protested that and got some relief from it. And then Joe Louis joined his camp, which was exciting for him because Joe Louis was our idol. For us, Joe Louis wasn't just fighting a man, he was battling for our opportunities, and he symbolized so much beyond the boxing game that it was very exciting for Jack to have Joe join him and then join him in these protests he was making with the Army about their accommodations and so on.
Jackie rebuffed the Army's brand of racial injustice, and though no fault of his, it caused him trouble.
Jack was on a bus coming from the hospital. He was on the Army post, and he sat down next to a woman who looked like she was white. She was not. She was the wife of one of his fellow officers. And the bus driver told him to move to the back of the bus, and he refused to move. And rhubarb ensued, and the bus driver pulled to MP station and called the MPs and said that Jack was drunk and disorderly, charges which were never substantiated. And so he was court-martialed. But in the course of that, he had an opportunity to lay out his case. Fortunately, he knew what his rights were. They were not, there was a policy where they could not discriminate on the Army base. So he knew that, and he knew he was in the right. So in a way, he wasn't endangered, but his spirits were very badly attacked by this episode. And then to have to go all the way through a court-martial and be charged with these various things, trumped-up charges, was very dispiriting to him, and he was glad to get out of the Army. He did get an honorable discharge, and he pushed for an honorable discharge because he just didn't want anything more to do with the Army after that incident. After he left the Army, he needed a job. It was just fortuitous that somebody came along and said, hey, the Kansas City Monarchs are hiring. And he went for a tryout, and he was hired. As far as his experience in the Negro Leagues, two things he enjoyed. The camaraderie of the men he enjoyed very much, and he was very impressed by the caliber of play because they were stunning athletes and had a more daring, more exciting form of play than he had seen in the pros. However, he did not like the circumstances under which they worked. They traveled on buses, they did one-night stands, they couldn't go into hotels, they couldn't eat in restaurants. It was a humiliating set of circumstances that they had to live with.
But the players didn't always take it sitting down, and Jackie, as usual, fought back.
The bus pulled into a gas station, and the owner was about to fill up the can when Jack asked if the men could use the bathroom, and the owner said no. And so Jack said, we'll get our gas somewhere else, and took the can back. So the story goes that the attendant gave in, knowing that he was losing customers, and it was a small triumph, but you know, when you're living under those circumstances, even small triumphs are important.
While Jackie played his first and only season in the Negro Leagues, Brooklyn Dodgers general manager Branch Rickey intensified his search for the Major League's first black ball player.
I was convinced then that there was a timeliness about it. After waiting 100 years, these people legally free, not spiritually free, never morally free. We all know that, and we know it now in what's happened in the last 15 years. There was a need for it, and I felt that if the right man, of fine character, high intelligence, and of great physical skills, and with control of himself off the field, if I could find that kind of a man, the American public would accept him.
The right man, of course, was Jackie Robinson. And thanks to the efforts of Sam Lacey and fellow African-American sports writer Wendell Smith, Rickey sent his top scout, Clyde Sukeforth, to check this Robinson out.
Mr. Rickey called me in. He said, I want you to go to Chicago Friday night. The Kansas City Monarchs will be playing at Comiskey Park. And I want you to see this fellow Robinson. Introduce yourself to him, something we hadn't been doing. Tell him who sent you and what you want to see.
Sukeforth came along and said Branch Rickey wanted to meet him. Jack was very skeptical, but he was also hungry. And so any opportunity that came along at that time, he would have taken the chance and gone.
So he met me over at New York, and I introduced him to Mr. Rickey. He said, Robinson, for a long time, all my life, I've been looking for a great colored player. And he said, I have some reason to believe that you might be that man. But he said, I need more than a great player. I need a man who will accept insults and abuse and, other words, carry the flag for his race. He said, if somebody slides into you and calls you a black so-and-so, you'd come up swinging, and you'd be justified. But he said, you'd set the cause back 20 years.
When Rickey met with Robinson, he staged an emotional exchange to test Jackie for scenarios he might face.
It was an attempt for him to tug, to push, to try and shock, to draw out of Jackie just what was that capacity in him by the look of an eye, by the blink, by the tensing of the muscles in the face, by whatever my grandfather could glean and from what Jackie would exchange back with him from these confrontational scenarios of what it was that the two of them were signing on to do.
If you want to take this gamble, he said, I'll promise you there'll be no incident. And that's all that the old man wanted to hear.
And Jack called me on the phone, and all he said was that he had this terrific opportunity. He couldn't tell me very much about it. He was very excited about it, but he had also promised that he would not release any details of it until they had a chance to do a press conference. And so all we knew in California was that something tremendous had come up and he had a job.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rickey. I'm certainly delighted with my contract.
When they picked Jackie Robinson, we had several ball players that was better ball players than Jackie Robinson. I scouted for 36 years, and if I was going to pick a ball player, a potential major leaguer, I would have picked Jackie. Because Jackie it wasn't just a case of picking a guy to play in the major leagues. Yeah, you picking a guy from a different race altogether to put in the major leagues. This is something new for everybody.
And so Branch Rickey's choice headed to Daytona Beach, Florida. But just getting there was a chore.
First spring training in '46 was my first trip south. And we were bumped from planes twice, and we think white passengers were put on those planes. We finally decided that we couldn't delay any longer. We really wanted to be in Daytona on the proper date at the opening day, and we were already late. So we took a bus from Jacksonville to Daytona. It was a terrible trip, and we were also forced to move to the back of the bus in that last leg of the trip. It was the first time I'd encountered a situation where I couldn't just walk into a diner or candy store or anything and eat. I deliberately walked into the white ladies' room just to recover my sense of self and to do a little rebellious act against all of this.
Upon his arrival at spring training camp, Jackie encountered a lukewarm reception from his teammates.
I think for the most part, most of them avoided him initially, and it was only a gradual process when players began to come around. He never said to me, what is it, why are they avoiding me? He'd been brown since he was born, and this was not a new experience. Even growing up in California, and particularly growing up in Pasadena where he grew up, where there was a good deal of discrimination and bigotry that he had to face every day going to school. So he knew about that. He knew it was based on ignorance. He knew it was based on old attitudes that came forward from slavery. So he knew the history of it. It never makes sense. So it's always illogical.
While training in Daytona Beach, the Robinsons were not allowed to stay in the hotel with the rest of the team. In fact, Jackie couldn't even get a bus ride all the way to his temporary home.
Jackie would get on a bus with us, and about a quarter of a mile from the ballpark, he would get off and he would walk down this dirt road with a picket fence.
When you have a bus stop and see one of your teammates get off, it raises something, kind of a question in your mind.
Still, liberal Daytona Beach itself was a safe haven compared to some of the other Florida towns.
In Daytona Beach, there wasn't any problem. It was the outlying cities in Florida that we had the problems with. And I don't know whether that was precipitated by organizations or what, but there was a lot of hatred developed from this thing and a lot of abuse toward him.
Once we left Daytona, then it got a little tough for him because we traveled up to Jacksonville and we had to come back because they wouldn't let us play the ball game.
I think they had problems in Sanford, In fact, if I remember correctly, they took him off the ballpark in Sanford. The sheriff came over there and asked to see the manager of the Royals, and they said, you know, get him off the playing field.
Jackie wasn't the only one involved in this. Rachel was involved in this too. Because the wives of the ball players, they play an important part in the careers of their husbands.
A young married couple could be torn apart by the pressures inherent in this situation, or if you bonded together and saw that you were in this together somehow and had a very deep and abiding love to hold you together, then it was a positive thing, because it was like us against the world, or any of those cliches. I mean, that's how we felt. More powerful because we were a pair. We were not without support. We had each other. And then together we could think out things better. I mean, we could review what had happened. We can do our own debriefing. We can express anger to each other. We can cry with each other. We can celebrate with each other. And so I think that the pairing between us was affected in a very positive way as a result of this experience.
On the field, Jackie struggled, but when camp broke, he was sent to the Dodgers' top farm team in Montreal.
After we'd been in Sanford, run out of ballparks, and locked out of Jacksonville, it felt very good to leave the United States, even briefly. And when we got into Montreal, Canada, or Montreal particularly, did not have a large minority population, and so we did not experience the same kind of discrimination there that we had in the South. It was a relief, and I think that Montreal was a perfect launching place for Jack's career.
With Florida behind him, a more relaxed Jackie excelled in his first game with the Royals in Jersey City, New Jersey.
He had a great first game, 4 for 5, stole a couple bases, made the pitcher balk, and he also hit a home run. So now I'm the next batter up, and of course everybody is watching to see if a white guy is going to shake his hand. And of course I got in position, I shook Jackie's hand, and that picture went all over the country.
Beyond the thrill of being there and the thrill of Jackie being the greatest baseball player of all times at that moment, I cried for the whole damn game. I just cried and cried and cried. You know, the sense of history gets to you first, and then you say, why have we got to go this far, you know, to let this man play baseball? And I remember just crying and crying and crying. And Wendell Smith saw me, and they said, where have you been? Why do you look like a hag? And I'm certain I did. But there were tears, genuine tears of supreme happiness. Supreme happiness.
Jackie had a great first season. He won the International League batting title with a .349 average and led the Royals to the championship. After the final game, some fans affectionately chased Jackie in celebration through the streets of Montreal. It prompted Sam Moulton of the Pittsburgh Courier to write, "This marked perhaps the only time in history that a white mob chased a Negro, not because of hate, but because of love." Jackie had earned a promotion to the Dodgers in 1947, but first, Branch Rickey needed approval by the baseball owners. They voted 15-1 against Jackie. So Commissioner Happy Chandler soon got a visit from Rickey.
And I said to him simply after we discussed it, I'm going to have to meet my maker someday. And he asked me why I didn't let this boy play, and I say it's because he's black. It might not be a satisfactory answer. I had seen these black boys offering to fight and die for the freedom of the country, and then when he came back home, they were told he couldn't play the national game. I just didn't think it was fair, and I didn't think it was just and decent. And I told Rickey, I said, bring him on in and we'll make a fight. And you must remember now, as the years have passed, I was the only fellow on earth could make that decision.
There was also a petition passed around the Dodgers clubhouse demanding that Jackie not be promoted.
I wasn't elated at all, and neither was Dixie Walker, and neither was Eddie Stanky. And also, Carl Furillo expressed dissatisfaction, being from Pennsylvania, which is kind of unheard of. Mr. Ricky called us in one at a time, you know, and he said, you know, it doesn't make any difference whether a fellow's skin is green or pink or white or blue or black or what. If he can do better than the man we got, he's going to play. You understand that? Yes, sir. Are you going to play any different than you do ordinarily if he plays? No, sir. Well, what are your feelings then? I said, well, I wouldn't want to be the scapegoat, but if I had my rathers, I'd just soon be traded somewhere.
Dixie Walker was the guy that supposedly got the petition. Maybe he did. Dixie Walker was a good friend of mine, and he would say something to me when I'd sit down and play cards with Jackie about playing cards with him. He said, how can you do that? I said, I have no problem with it at all, Dixie.
A couple of fellows decided they were going to try to propose a boycott, a strike, and that they would attempt to get all the fellows on. I think it was Pee Wee Reese whose strength was, you know, quite good. Dixie wanted to know, how can you, a Southerner, not participate in this so-called boycott? But Pee Wee, from the outset, felt that if I were the only white guy trying to break into all black league, I'd want somebody to be my friend. And he says, if Jackie Robinson has the ability and he can make it, that's all I'm going to ask.
And so Jackie Robinson made his major league debut at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn in a game managed by Clyde Sukforth, April 15th, 1947. Jackie officially broke baseball's color barrier against the Braves' Johnny Sain. The game itself was not a sellout. Robinson went hitless in his first major league game, but still he made an impact. In the 7th inning, Jackie laid down a bunt. The blazing speed he displayed as he ran to first base resulted in an error. Later in the inning, Pete Reiser drove Jackie home with a go-ahead and eventual winning run in the Dodgers' 5-3 triumph. But Jackie's first game did not breed acceptance. Several more strike threats soon followed, including one by the world champion St. Louis Cardinals, a much publicized affair.
The Cardinals came in, and there was a lot in the papers about a threatened strike. The Cardinals weren't going to play if Robinson played. Ford Frick handled that pretty good. He just came over and told them in so many words that this fellow is playing in America, and his rights are equal to yours. And you better give that a little thought before you strike, because you're going to be the loser.
1947 was a constant challenge for Jackie, a daily ritual of self-control. The abuse was endless, simply because he sought to play the national pastime.
They'd call him, hey boy, hey, you need a watermelon, hey, I need a shine.
I can remember one day he had a ball to left center field in Ebbets Field. He rounded first and went into second for the double. He'd already finished his slide. The second baseman got the ball in the web of his glove, turned around and hit Jackie with it, side of the face. We could hear the impact in the dugout at Ebbets Field. Jackie didn't say a word. He got up, dusted himself off, stole third base.
He'd slide in the base sometime. We all thought he was wiping sweat. People spitting in his face.
I remember when we went to Philadelphia, when they threw all those black cats out on the field.
They put him at first base, and there were several of the opposing players that tried to step on him at first base and tried to hurt him and maim him so he couldn't play.
The fact that my father was hit by more pitched, intentionally thrown balls than all of his other teammates combined, that is a statistic which impacts on me more than his lifetime batting average.
No one heaped more abuse on Jackie than the Phillies' vitriolic manager, Ben Chapman. His racial slurs and hatred knew no match.
He was so bitter that the press got on him. Ben's the manager, and they were on him pretty good. And Ben still cast his pride aside and asked Robinson if he won't come over and have his picture taken with him. and Robinson's man enough to go.
But in that picture, Chapman refused to shake Jackie's black hand. Hitting, fielding, and death threats were all a part of Jackie's first season.
Every day, every town you go to, you get a note from some crank saying, if you come out on that field today, black boy, you won't walk off.
He'd show me a letter that if he played today, you will be shot. Nothing seemed to bother him. I say, hey, Jack, move away from me a little bit. This guy may be a bad shot. He'd laugh. He got a big kick out of it.
When the hate mail started coming and they threatened our family, yes, that's scary. We tried very hard, both of us, to make our home a haven where we could relax and where we could come down from all of this, whether it was good or bad, and where we could reassess things and be ready for the next day. So there wasn't a lot of anger at home or depression or withdrawing or any of that kind of thing at home. Frustration, yes, it was always there. And he had a habit of going out and hitting golf balls if he really wanted to hit something.
Gradually, Jackie became accepted by his teammates, evidenced by a gesture from Captain Pee Wee Reese during a verbal attack by the Cincinnati bench.
And Pee Wee Reese went over and put his arm around Jackie. And from that moment on, his teammates accepted him more, and the rest of the teams in the league accepted him. He became an accepted player just by a simple incident like that.
One of the great things he did was to welcome Jackie, so that people thought, wow, here's a fella from the South, from Kentucky, walking over and putting his arm around a black player.
Other Dodgers followed suit. The team began to make public its acceptance of Jackie as a teammate. One such incident occurred in St. Louis, a segregated park, when Jackie fell toward the dugout while chasing a pop-up.
He tripped on the mound, and he was going to go right into the dugout head first, and I just caught him on my shoulders like probably the best tackle I ever made. And he said that incident proved to the fans in the stands that we were teammates, that he was my teammate, didn't matter, he was black, that he was my teammate, and I instinctively, saved him from possible disaster.
Jackie's presence on the field also opened the door to black baseball fans, a whole new clientele for the owners.
No matter what he did, black people would stand up and cheer. Sometimes it was just bending over and tying his shoe. It was like it would cause an uproar in the black section.
You see his hat fell off, or he stumbled over his toes, and right, pulled that, And when he trots to the dugout, it was funny. We were all cheering at the wrong time. To watch the black people come to the games for the first time, to watch people who didn't know what baseball was about, and watch people overdress. And it was just wonderful. And to watch the owners look at all of these people who never came to a game and count them in terms of dollars and cents. Jesus Christ, we made $15,000 more in this game than we did without Jackie.
Blacks came out to the ballpark in droves, and now all the blacks who had never had a vision of playing in the big leagues now could say, I can play in the big leagues, I can get to the big leagues.
That kind of thinking received quite a boost when Jackie hit .297 and led the league with 29 stolen bases. He was named Rookie of the Year, an award now named for him. And of course, he helped lead Brooklyn to the pennant.
24 whites and 1 black on the Dodgers. And we win the National League pennant. And we all get $4,500 apiece. We were real grateful to the black. We couldn't have done it without him.
The experiment had worked. And Jack always said that it didn't matter. Being first was only a kind of honor, but it didn't really have great significance until there was a second and a third and a fourth, which meant the door was open.
After 3 years, Jackie was no longer a pioneer. Free from the noble experiment, he was able to focus purely on his role as a ball player, and a great one at that.
He knew then, by the 1949, that he was going to be able to be himself, and he just started the season that way. The greater freedom, of course, was clear in his play. And of course, we saw it at home in terms of his spirits, because now he didn't have to take anything from anybody.
When a guy didn't hustle, he'd get on his case. And otherwise, before that, he'd mind his business and just keep quiet. But now he could argue with umpires, which he had not done in 3 years. And he'd get on the other team, you know, he'd be a bench jockey. I think it opened the door for him to just be natural.
Natural meant a daring and exciting style of play that stirred up the grand old game.
You hated to see Jackie Robinson come up when the game was on the line because he could beat you so many ways. Certainly could beat you with his bat, but you were fearful of him beating you with his feet.
Bunt. Might be trouble. Might be trouble. They don't even throw it. Look, that doesn't even throw it. It's a bunt single.
He was so quick. Boom, he's in high gear, one stride. And gee, he's an aggressive guy. He took every inch he could get. He was the greatest base runner I ever saw. The best at going from first to third, without a doubt, and could scare a pitcher to death when he was on third base.
And he literally danced.
Robinson dancing.
And he was in constant motion. And he captivated the fans, not to mention drove the opposing pitchers crazy.
Sano steps off. Robinson gave him a bluff run over there.
I can remember sitting on the bench and watching him, or being in the bullpen and watching Jackie, and just realize if I was the pitcher, how would I handle this?
When I played for the Dodgers, I used to wonder, how does he upset pitchers? I know other guys take leads and they steal, but pitchers would look and kept saying, well. Then I got traded to the Reds, and I had a pitch against Jackie, and I saw, you'd be looking on peripheral vision, you can see like a rabbit, he's hopping. He's hopping.
He'd run way up the line, and you'd think he was going to steal home, and he'd go back. And then when he'd run up and you thought he wasn't going, boom, he'd go.
Robbie's coming to the plate. The throw to Berra. He steals it.
Zacha's famous steal of home in the 1955 World Series was just one of the 20 thefts of home in his illustrious career. In 1949, Jackie stepped to the head of the class by winning the Most Valuable Player award. That year, he hit .342 to lead the league. He also stole 37 bases to lead the majors. Jackie was an all-star selection 6 consecutive years. In a Player's Choice survey, he was named the best of his era at second base, where he set a club record for fielding percentage. But his versatility took him to first base, third base, and the outfield. And as Jackie went, so too did the Brooklyn Dodgers.
He joined the team in 1947, and they won a pennant. Almost won a pennant in 48, won the pennant in 49, almost won it in 50, almost won it in 51, won it in 52 and 53, finished second in 54, won a World's Championship in 55, and won in 56. Now that's pretty good for the years he was there. Unless you're a Yankee, you don't get much better a record than that.
In 1956, Jackie was traded to the hated Giants. He retired instead, with plans for a full life after baseball.
What's the real reason you're giving up baseball?
Well, because I'm 38 and I don't think that my future is too bright in baseball. I think that I've just about run the gamut as a baseball player can do it at this particular age, and I'm not going to stick around and be a fellow that's kicked around from pillar to post.
The Dodgers should have allowed him to retire with dignity and honors and celebration instead of selling him for 30 pieces of silver. I mean, I just thought that was a violation of some kind of code of honor. But fortunately, he had expected it, something to happen, and he was one step ahead of him, which also made us feel good, because when Buzzy called him to say he had been traded, he already had a job with Chock-full of Nuts. And so that was exciting to be able to defend himself in that way and protect himself and have a way to go and not have to do something that he didn't really want to do. He couldn't play for the enemy Giants. I hoped he wouldn't be able to play for them.
In 1962, Jackie's 10-year career received the highest honor when he was elected to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot.
He was thrilled to be elected to the Hall of Fame and somewhat surprised. Over the years, he had antagonized some of the sports writers, and he had people who were for him and against him, and he did not know whether he'd get sufficient votes to be voted in the first time round. So it was a thrill that he was to achieve that honor. It was exciting that it happened the first time he was eligible. And again, it was an affirmation of his importance to the sport.
In 1956, with the game now behind him, Jackie could spend more time with the one thing he loved more than baseball, his family. Rachel and Jackie had 3 children. Their first child, Jackie Jr., was born during the 1947 season. Tragically, his life ended in an automobile accident in 1971. Sharon was born in 1950. She is now a nurse midwife who lives in Connecticut. David, born in 1952, runs a coffee farm in Tanzania in Africa.
My father did not know his father, and therefore being a father was important to him.
When he would be away for a long time, he would write to us, and he would call every day. He would call like twice a day. But it was always that he was reaching out to us as children.
Jack had a tremendous capacity for love, and that grew over the years, that capacity to love. Our children got to see what a father should be.
But for all his love of family, Jackie certainly couldn't simply sit at home, and he quickly became a pioneer in the business world as well. At a time when few blacks filled the boardrooms, Chock-full of Nuts president Bill Black hired Jackie to be his vice president of personnel. And Jackie took on the role with unbridled passion.
It happened to be a perfect position for him because it allowed him to work on behalf of the employees, a large proportion of whom were African American. He enjoyed going from store to store, meeting the staff, talking with them about their working conditions. Chock-full taught him a lot about how a business is run. It showed that there was a possibility for black people to move into those positions, and there were lots of people who followed him into those positions.
Other business opportunities would follow, none more important to Jack than his 1964 venture into the Harlem-based Freedom National Bank. As co-founder and chairman, he'd created the only black-owned and operated bank in New York State.
Well, what we hope that it will do is make it possible for people who have been denied opportunities in previous years to get the kind of opportunities that they want. Freedom National Bank is dedicated to helping its people in the financial area, which we believe is the next frontier for the Negro people. Banking, insurance, any kind of businesses. We believe that Freedom National Bank is the forerunner here, and we're going to continue to do so.
He really worked at understanding each of the different businesses he went into. He never lent his name to something as that issue only. It was, okay, I'm going to learn about this, I'm going to make a decision about whether I want to participate, and then I'm going to actively participate. There was nothing that I saw him in that he wasn't fully involved in.
Jackie became involved in politics as well, and diversity was the name of his game. He supported Richard Nixon, but later became disillusioned with him. He also backed Nelson Rockefeller, another Republican, and later Democrat Hubert Humphrey. The candidate for Jackie was more important than the politics of the party.
He was a registered independent, though many people think he was a Republican. And his His strategy in politics was to feel that the Democrats took the black vote for granted, that we were in their hip pocket and they were not going to do anything for us that they didn't have to do, and that we would only have leverage, political leverage, when we were active in both parties.
Jackie's star rose even higher in the mid-60s when Rockefeller was governor. He was appointed Special Assistant of Community Affairs, and he brought the perfect qualities to the post.
Integrity and candor and honesty, all of which is missing for the most part in politics. But even the people who had reservations about Jackie Robinson and whether or not he was a hero, even those people said hooray for Jackie when he expressed himself very clearly about a point of view that might have been unpopular, very unpopular, but he would say it, and he would believe it. And even more importantly, he had the ability to double back and say, I was wrong. And those are qualities that are rare in any human being, not only to be absolutely, totally candid, but to admit when the candor was not always placed properly, to admit that I was wrong is strong, is strong. I think that's what he brought to the political scene.
Everybody has got problems, and government's responsibility is to balance out those problems and the needs with the programs of action. And I feel that together we can do a better job than I've been able to do in many areas in the past.
Jackie and Nelson Rockefeller were in awe of each other. Nelson Rockefeller thought Jackie was the most powerful man in America. And Nelson Rockefeller, in truth, was one of the most powerful, men in America. And the governor absolutely valued Jackie's difference of opinion. He said, Jackie Robinson is a black hero. He's out there. He knows more about his arena than I will ever know. And if he's going to give me hell, I want to hear it. I want to hear it from my friend Jackie. And Jackie, God knows he would tell him, Governor, you shouldn't do that. I mean, very clear, very clear. Now, Governor, if I were you, I would not do that. I would not do it that way, yeah. As much as he respected and admired the governor, it never stopped him from being candid.
As special assistant, Jackie was indeed out there, and once again amazed the people.
Many times, I'd see Jackie leave Freedom National Bank, where he was one of the founders, and walk across town through 125th Street. And it would take him an hour to get 2 blocks. He would stop and talk to everybody who wanted to stop and talk with him. And some of the crazy guys on the block, and I used to know a lot of the crazy guys, they would stop Jackie just to start an argument about some point of view. And you could see him with the finger in his face. Well, when you said so-and-so, you crazy, man, you crazy. Jackie said, yeah, but you don't understand. He loved that. He really, it was beautiful to watch. And it was hardly ever a big crowd around a hero seeking autographs. It was real byplay, real talking to, so they could go home and tell their parents, and tell their families, their kids, well, I gave Jackie Robinson hell today. I told him, he's wrong on that. So it was just great. And that is a political characterization.
The civil rights movement reached its peak during Jackie's post-baseball years. Civil unrest filled the news. Jackie had been active in the NAACP during his playing days, and now he had the chance to stand alongside Dr. Martin Luther King.
His relationship with Dr. King began when activities started in Birmingham, Alabama, and Dr. King was at the head of that, at the forefront of that. And the marchers were being arrested and jailed. and we wanted to know what we could do. And we learned that Dr. King needed bail money. And so we had our first jazz concert, Afternoon of Jazz, at our home in Connecticut, and raised on the first concert, that was in '63. We raised $15,000 to send south. But prior to that, Jack had been asked by Dr. King to come south and join him in some of his marches.
I respect Dr. Martin Luther King more than any other man that I know in the civil rights field. So I am here to help follow the leadership of a man, as I say, that I respect, an organization that has done a fantastic job in promoting brotherhood. And it would be like, in my opinion, a rookie coming up from the minor leagues in the last part of a major league season when the team had the chance of winning the championship, come barging into an area and saying, we ought to do it this way. I don't believe in that. I believe in going through and doing it exactly as Dr. King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference have done.
My father did not talk of racial hatred. My father was much more into believing that we could work together. He came from that era, and he came from an era when white people and black people marched together for social change.
Jack was profoundly a nonviolent person, and he never felt that violence was going to accomplish anything. He feared it. He rejected it as an option. When Malcolm X early on used phrases like by any means necessary that frightened Jack off, I mean, it sounded like it was a call to violence. As Malcolm matured and Jack got more savvy about the outside world, I think they got closer. And because they could see that you need each other. I mean, it's not that only one strategy is not going to be the end all, be all and end all of any situation. You've got to have people coming at it in different directions.
More than reading history, history came to our house in terms of it being the home of an African-American leader. Other African-American leaders came to our house during times of crisis.
Despite a severe case of diabetes, which challenged his state of health, Jackie fought on for his beliefs. And now, as a leader in the civil rights movement, he helped to bring even more long-standing barriers crashing down.
In public accommodations, we won some battles. We got legislation, we got a Civil Rights Act, we got Brown versus Board of Education, which outlawed segregation in schools. So we made progress that was concrete and which was firm and which gave us laws that would assist in creating a new environment, including affirmative action laws. All of those things, I feel, were signs of progress and tools for us to use. And it was very promising. What gets frustrating is because that movement began in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and we are still today looking at the residue of racism and dealing, our children and my grandchildren are still facing some of the same barriers and some of the same issues that we did that long ago.
Jackie's diabetes worsened and soon took its toll. His legs and eyes deteriorated, the very things that had brought him such stardom.
The guy stopped and asked him for an autograph. So the guy had a piece of paper and somebody had a pen, and Jack autographed this piece of paper, and he told the guy, he says, I hope you can read this. He says, I'm going blind. And that, I think that's what really hit the wife and I, when he was going blind.
Jackie Robinson is something special. Baseball is proud of Jackie Robinson.
Before Game 2 of the '72 World Series, and in failing health, Jackie attended baseball's celebration honoring his 25th anniversary.
He knew that he was dying and that this might probably be the last appearance, and it was important that members of his family gathered for that day.
And what stands out is his determination to get there despite all of his ailments, and when he went onto the field that he could acknowledge the honor, but he never gave up speaking out for the things he believed in.
I'm extremely proud and pleased to be here this afternoon but must admit I'm going to be tremendously more pleased and more proud when I look at that third base coaching line one day and see a black face managing in baseball. Thank you very much.
Here was a time where he could have just been totally self-absorbed. Here they were there to honor him, and he used that opportunity to say, you know, yeah, now we got players, but we don't have, you know, they haven't moved beyond the playing field, and there are no managers. So I felt that was really significant that he would use that opportunity to make a final statement to the world.
It would be Jackie's final public statement. 9 days later, he died of a heart attack at the age of 53.
I was almost overcome physically with an overwhelming feeling of sadness because he had died at such a young age. And we hadn't had a chance to repay him for some of the things he'd done for us.
The love and the respect and the caring and the sadness of the funeral was so unanimous, it was so clear that I felt that, oh, Jackie won't disappear. He'll be with us. We'll remember him.
I'll never remember seeing so many people at a funeral. The church and 125th Street, boy, just a mob of people, just faces.
And we drove through Harlem, and people were like standing outside and throwing flowers and, you know, just being very respectful. They were not being intrusive. They were being respectful and paying their last respects. And we drove, the motorcade drove all through, you know, town, and we drove, eventually ended up in Brooklyn. And it was wonderful to see that the people could be involved in this funeral by being outside in their neighborhoods and saying goodbye.
The streets were very crowded, but it was totally silent. There was just an incredible silence. Everybody, I mean, it was almost in its own way. All the lights were out, even though it was daytime, and everybody was just watching. And there was just a strong sense of respect. It was neither, you know, sadness nor joy. There was this kind of silence that comes only when people feel they're part of something much larger.
I think there was a lot of tribute, a lot of recognition of greatness, a lot of celebration of greatness, and a lot of continuing resistance and resolve amongst family and other members to carry on with the struggle that Jackie Robinson had made his life.
But of course, Jackie's legacy lives on. The most obvious postscript is being written by his grandson, Sharon's son, Jesse Sims, who, like his grandfather, has gone to UCLA to play football. On a recent trip to the campus, Jesse teamed up with Jackie's college crony, Ray Bartlett, and the two men took a tour of the athletic venues Jackie once owned.
I was looking around campus here, and I don't even think I recognize the building. But I think that's the men's gym down there.
That's where you and Grandpa played
basketball
together?
That's where Jack and I played, right?
Oh, okay.
Right.
This place get crowded or no?
I understand that they didn't get a crowd of any sort until Jack got here. He was a top-flight shooter. As a matter of fact, he led the Pacific Coast League in points scored.
Really?
He did.
And what year was that?
Pardon me?
What year
That was
did
in
he lead?
1939.
What events did Grandpa
He was
take
in
place?
long jump.
Long jump.
Yeah.
I mean, Grandpa playing four sports. I mean, how do you have time to practice track and field, to baseball, football? I mean,
Jack didn't have any time to do any running, I'll tell you that. He was in shape all the time, being involved in all the sports.
How did you feel, I mean, in terms of Grandpa being a football player? I mean, what type of player did you feel? You kind of a finesse type of player? Or?
Well, yes. I did a lot of blocking for your grandfather. And one of the secrets I knew, having played with him over at junior college, that you didn't have to knock a guy down for him to get by. So I was worth maybe blocking 2 or 3 guys, whereas some of the other guys on the team tried to knock down one guy, you know, on a run or something. So I just run along, and he'd like beat at my right, and he'd just say, "Keep going, Ray, keep going."
So you guys would kind of talk each other during the play.
We talked. And I knew that he just needed a little interference, and then he was gone.
Everybody has a Jackie Robinson story, and I think that shows how many people he touched. And I mean, me and my grandmother and my mother, we traveled to different states, and I mean, all over the place, even in Montreal. I mean, Montreal feels that they've kind of started off my grandfather. Pasadena feels like they started off my grandfather. I mean, Brooklyn feels that. So I mean, everyone had a Jackie Robinson story, and all those stories kind of gives me one big picture of my grandfather. So I hear all the baseball stories. I mean, Joe Paterno, when I went on my visit down there, I mean, he was telling me how he used to sneak in at Ebbets Field to watch my grandfather. But to hear the stories really makes me proud.
Still, it is baseball Jackie is known for, and it is baseball he also played at UCLA.
Although Jackie became very famous for baseball, sometimes I wonder because he didn't bat too well when he was at UCLA.
How did it feel, I mean, you and Grandpa being on the field with each other at the same time? I mean, what does that feel like now to yourself?
Well, now it feels great. At the time, we were just a couple of guys on a college baseball team. But as you know, and the world knows, what Jackie did certainly made me feel good that I had played with him. And I'll cherish those days. I'm just sorry he's not here.
How many of you are freshmen? Wow! Look at the freshmen. Great.
But Jackie Robinson's most enduring legacy is a program that began just 1 year after his death, the Jackie Robinson Foundation.
We decided early on that we had to support the education of minority youngsters, that education was the key to their development, the key to their becoming citizens, the key to life, really, of any kind. So early on we decided that we would provide 4 years of support for young people from any part of the country, young people who had already been accepted in the college of their choice. They did not have to be athletes. They had to measure up academically, but also they had to be young people who had already started to give back to the communities they lived in.
This person said, I can make a difference. And she did, so that the program started taking part in the Adopt-a-School program developed by Nicole Stevens and the engineering students. Congratulations. Congratulations, Nicole.
Today we have 142 students in college on $20,000 scholarships. We provide them with career counseling, personal counseling, summer jobs, internships. They have a hotline to our office, an 800 number. They can call us anytime they wish. They're in 66 universities in 21 states and the District of Columbia.
Next we have Nakia Davis, who graduated Vanderbilt University in May of 1996.
We have a 92% graduation rate, which is the highest in the country. We have a model program. And the most exciting thing, I think, that we can say about the program now is, one, the kids feel they've been inducted into an extended family. That's what we tell them. We'll be interested in them for life.
On behalf of all the new Alumni Association members, I would just like to say that we look forward to a long and very active relationship with the alumni and as well as with the foundation and the scholars. Thank you.
This Scholarship Foundation is really about the scholars and the people who take part in it. The committee members, the mentors who are all a part of making sure that each scholar has the best experience in college that they can and then carries on afterwards. It really is a family and something that becomes incorporated into your whole life. And you carry it with you in your daily life, in the decisions you make.
I got other scholarships where they said, okay, all you have to do is keep maintaining 3.0 and we'll give you money. This one was like, okay, we're going to give you money, but we're also going to help you by, we're going to have networking weekends, we're going to allow you to meet other people in similar interests, in similar fields. We're going to provide with a mentor, people to give you advice, and people that you can establish a network with throughout the country so that, I mean, I can go anywhere in the country and I know people, and anybody, if I need advice, I know who to call. It's like I had a really good family atmosphere about it.
The family gathered for its annual dinner at the Waldorf Astoria in New York City. It was the biggest turnout ever, and people from all walks of life attended. It's the foundation's primary fundraising event, the common link between Jackie's life and the future.
Well, it certainly had an impact on my life, and I was, 10,000 miles away, a total non-entity. But it was one of the most powerful factors for helping to liberate my mind, my psyche, my spirit.
Well, you're talking about one of the great Americans of the century, not just one of the great athletes. And there's so much dignity and so much purpose associated with his name that if someone asks you to be in any way involved, if you have a chance to interview Rachel Robinson or a chance to participate in anything that's connected in a worthwhile way with Jackie Robinson, then it's not a duty, it's an honor.
Bill Cosby is the host of the dinner and a longtime supporter of the foundation. It's no surprise that he's also a crowd favorite.
The man's name, period. That's what drew me, and then I found out what it was going to be about. I've seen an awful lot of organizations started, but I've never seen one through Rachel's work that was so consistent. And for me, I think it's the mere fact that the children are exposed and people can see the living example and they can see their work.
Jackie was my childhood hero, and so it's not often that you are able to be asked to take up a vital leadership position in a foundation that bears your childhood hero's name. And so I felt very fortunate when Rachel came to me a little more than a year ago and asked me if I would take up the chairmanship of the foundation. So I consider it a great honor. But also because of the fact I am a scholarship student and I know the importance of opportunity, and I see just the tremendous product that the Jackie Robinson Foundation is putting out with its scholars and men and women that are going on to exciting careers in all walks of life. And once you meet one of our graduates, you don't even have to ask how important the foundation is, you know.
Mark Lee knows. He's a foundation alumnus with a master's degree in biochemistry. He currently does AIDS research at Emory University in Atlanta.
How'd you guys do today? Fine. Oh, good.
Cheryl Duncan is a graduate of Howard University. She now devotes time to a literacy program in Harlem. Both Cheryl and Mark are shining examples of the Jackie Robinson Foundation doctrine.
Every year it's kind of dinged in that You should be doing something to give back to the community. We always are challenged to talk about what you are doing, and you need to have something to say.
Being able to work in AIDS research, I can impact a very large community of people and maybe help save or make the quality of life better for those people who are impacted by AIDS.
Do you have any friends that are twins? Good. So use a sentence using the word twin about them.
Friends are twins.
Good. Our program involves phonics and also study skills. We use books that teach people how to learn. So what we're trying to do is basically give a grounding to adults and teens and children who maybe missed it in school. And for a lot of the kids that have already come in and they have some sort of literacy, we just try to bring them up.
I can actually use the microscope to visualize the white blood cells that we isolate from the blood. The white blood cells are pretty much made up of T cells, B cells, and other minor blood cell types. We're at the point now in AIDS research where there are certain class of drugs that can be given to HIV-infected individuals that will reduce the level of virus in their blood to undetectable levels.
Harlem is very significant to Black America. I mean, it was significant to Jackie Robinson because he had the Freedom Bank here. It's like a cultural hub. And Harlem has been run down for various reasons over the past few decades. And it's time for a new renaissance in Harlem. And I want to be part of that. And I think that this program is helping to create that. So what's the importance of reading?
So you can accomplish what you want to do in life?
Good.
And through it all, the memory of Jackie Robinson is always there.
He faced things not for himself, but for the greater good. And I try to pattern my life like that, to do things above and beyond what I would normally have to do just for my own survival.
Jackie Robinson, to me, represents strength that goes beyond muscles, strength of character, strength of intellect, and strength of those things that aren't tangible.
For me, Jackie Robinson is not only a role model as a father, as a humanitarian, as a person, just a beautiful person. He symbolizes everything that I would put inside the word excellence.
I feel very proud to be a JRF scholar because I know the type of person that Jackie Robinson was. Now that I'm a member, every year we come to the networking weekend, we kind of learn a little bit more about him, especially with this being the 50th anniversary. I mean, you kind of feel really important. You feel like you're shining out there, and that just like he, kept on doing what he wanted to do, you can keep on doing exactly what you want to do.
When he was alive, he spent an awful lot of time with young people. He was just devoted to helping young people. And he also had a fierce belief in education as the tool for advancement. So I think that if you saw our Jackie Robinson scholars and their reflection of characteristics that we attribute to him, those like competitiveness, like excellence, like a commitment to helping others, plus high academic averages and a high completion rate as far as their college careers are concerned, I think he'd be very pleased.
One has to wonder if Jackie could have possibly envisioned that on April 15, 1997, the President of the United States would stand beside Rachel and stop a baseball game in midstream to honor Jackie's 50-year anniversary.
I can't help thinking that if Jackie Robinson were here with us tonight, he would say that we have done a lot of good in the last 50 years, but we can do better. And he would remind us, look around this stadium tonight, that as we sit side by side at baseball games, we must make sure that we walk out of these stadiums together. We must stand for something more magnificent even than a Grand Slam home run. We ought to have a Grand Slam society, a good society, where all of us have a chance to work together for a better tomorrow for our children. Let that be the true legacy of Jackie Robinson's wonderful, remarkable career and life.
This
anniversary has given us an opportunity as a nation to celebrate together the triumphs of the past and the social progress that has occurred. It has also given us an opportunity to reassess the challenges of the present. It is my passionate hope that we can take this reawakened feeling of unity and use it as a driving force so that each of us can recommit to equality of opportunity for all Americans.
We needed Jackie Robinson. He was important, not just to a race, to a nation. Jackie Robinson helped us come together as a people. He helped us break down the barriers of the past and the present. We needed Jackie Robinson, and in many ways, we still do.
When you see Jackie Robinson dancing on first base, not only was Jackie rattling the pitcher and upsetting the pace of the game, but Jackie was really daring America to go to a higher standard.
I can only quote what he said himself. He said, "A life is not important except in its impact on the lives of others." He impacted on the lives of many people, both black and white, and now he is beginning to impact on the lives of younger people because many students are approaching me because they are studying his life. And I think it's a search for heroes, and I think he is a person who qualifies for that position. He was a hero.
I feel so optimistic. I feel so good about the impact of Jackie Robinson. It is here now. It is definitely here. It is not going away. Nobody's ever going to forget Jackie Robinson. There will always be some Jackie Robinson Awards, another school called Jackie Robinson. It's here. I think it made it this year. It really made it.